And here we are. Welcome, week 10 of the fantasy football season, week 10 of the Low Car Fantasy Football League podcast. It's only fitting. We've got Thursday night football in Denver, and our guest hails from Denver. To Albuquerque, to Assmongler, TM, multiple meanings there. How are you, sir?
Oh man, it's wonderful to be here. It's been a long season coming. We're right here at about the halfway mark. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least start off with a very important announcement that we've got a press release as well as an important announcement regarding some team naming conventions this season. So I just wanted to come out and make the announcement. You guys may have seen it in the press, but I'm very proud to announce that my franchise, the Joseph Richmond franchise, has just recently signed a perpetual license with Paul Biedlingmeyer, allowing for the perpetual use of the Albuquerque Assmongler logo. So throughout that agreement, I've been able to rebrand officially as To Albuquerque, To Assmongler. Also, R.I.P. Paul Walker in honor of the greatest movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. But most importantly, I think that this next announcement needs to be read out to the league, because as part of the agreement with Paul Biedlingmeyer around the perpetual license for the To Assmongler name, I've been asked to read this to make sure that the entire league is well aware that this is a final notice regarding the unauthorized use of the Albuquerque Assmongler name, infringing upon established trademark rights. Despite previous correspondence demanding the cessation of these infringements, you all have continued to use the mark without authorization. We immediately ask you to cease and desist and remove all infringing materials. Please confirm with written confirmation that you are in compliance with said letter and said announcement. Non-compliance will result in injunctive relief and or monetary damages. And I've been advised by Mr. Biedlingmeyer that I am authorized to request attorney's fees as part of any kind of settlements reached here. So I just want to, I hate to get the legal stuff involved, but I just feel like, given what's happened in the last week or two, it's really important that we start off the conversation and just make sure we're all on solid footing
here. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you might already be in trouble. Apparently, there's an NDA that you've just violated. So I'm look forward to the legal developments here. Wonderful, just absolutely wonderful developments here. I think it's great when you can have a week where you've got 5 or 6 different owners all making fun of another owner for trying to claim that they have the perpetual rights to a team name that they've literally used only 1/3 of the seasons in the league. So
I really do have to give credit, because this was the perfect this entire, if someone said to me what is the Low Car Fantasy Football League, it is literally the level of petty that is Paul getting all pissy about it, and then all of us going and changing team names, and then taking it a step further, because all of us are all alumni of a relatively prestigious school where we all got fairly creative with the flavors of the name which we've chosen. So I just want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart, because it really made my week last week. I had some miserable work meetings, and I was in the middle of 6 different things when the news broke over the group me. And in between conference calls, I jumped in, didn't make an announcement, but then everybody else saw it, and it was just, this is beautiful. So I just really want to thank all of you, because it's really been a special week or so. As Ashton Genty does score a touchdown, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, well I guess we should pay attention to real football, right? Speaking of which, oh look, my stories are on, right, man? Well, let's sort of dive into it. I don't know. You want to start with the real trade deadline?
Yeah, let's start with the real trade deadline, because I'm very confused. So obviously, real football informs fantasy, and I spent a little bit of time today looking across the league, and really, knowing about the appearance tonight. I really wanted to make sure I spent some time really digging in and kind of taking stock of the league at really what is roughly the halfway mark, right, of the NFL season, of our season, give or take. And I'm not quite sure, and this is a serious question, right? I really want to understand what the fuck the Dallas Cowboys are doing, and I wonder if some of this is that how old is Jerry Jones? He's got to be fucking 85 or something like that at this point. Is the man just completely gone to the point where he's doing whatever he can to theoretically hold on? Because turning Micah Parsons into 2 mediocre linemen and a random linebacker who couldn't even play for the Bengals seems utterly shocking. And I don't get it. as a Giants fan, I'm really enjoying it. This is the first season as a Giants fan that I've had, hope and fun in football that isn't fantasy in a long time. But like, I really can't figure out what it is that the Cowboys are doing here.
When Jerry said before Monday Night Football that he had a trade like done and you're going to see the player on the field, I'm like, what do you do? First of all, who says this? Who says ridiculous things? And then second, I'm with you. You make the Micah Parsons trade because you're an insane owner who doesn't know how to negotiate and refuses to negotiate in a professional way. So your star player says, I'm out. You get a great, given all the circumstances, you got a very good haul for Micah Parsons. You then give away half of that for Quinn Williams. I mean, okay, who's good, but he's been declining for 3 years in a row, and he's tied up for the next 3 years. So,
taking it a step further, right? Like, what's the plan? Because I won a lot of money betting on the Cardinals money line on Monday night. So I'll just pat myself on the back for that one. But like, when you watch this Cowboys team in back-to-back weeks, they got blown out by the Broncos, who for whatever reason can't seem to beat anybody. Apparently the Raiders winning, and goddamn it, I was at that Giants game and I still am not sure if I've recovered from it. But like, I watch that defense, and it's not the defensive line that concerns me. It's the fact that the receivers are wide open, and like Jacoby Brissett is making you guys look like a fucking joke. Like,
let me ask you this.
So let's get another D lineman in. It's like you're chasing it ever since like getting rid of Parsons.
Right, but you're also getting a D tackle, right? Like, you're not getting a pass rusher, really.
Right.
The other thing is you trade for Logan Wilson, who's coming from the absolute worst defense in the league.
The worst defense.
To what is probably the second worst defense in the league. Like, that is not an upgrade. Logan Wilson is not moving your linebackers from terrible to anything other than terrible.
Yeah, and so the Cowboys, let's play this out, right? Like great shot of Larimer Square, by the way. The Cowboys end up what? They're going to win 6 games this season, 7 games. They're 3-4 and what are they? 2-4-1 or something like that right now.
They're 3-4-1 or 3-5-1, something like that.
So like, realistically, right, we're going to get to 7 or 8 wins. You're missing the playoffs. Like, what's the goal here? Like, it's so top heavy. At some point, you have to be realistic about blowing the thing up. And I really feel like, to a certain extent, like, Jerry is convinced that he needs to win it one more time. I have no idea how many years he's got left, and this is not supposed to be like he's on his deathbed, he's an idiot. But like, there does seem to me to be a desperation of like, I want to see it one more time before I go. That's the only thing I can think about. The only thing I can think
of. I mean, I think he wants to win one, but
God, Cowboys at Raiders is next Monday night. That is a fucking.
I mean, that's look. Game. You know what? I know everybody thinks that the Eagles Packers Monday Night Football is going to get the ESPN YouTube TV issue resolved. I'm telling you, if it's Cowboys, if we don't get it resolved before this Monday, it's not going to get resolved because of Monday night the following week. Cowboys Raiders moves the needle probably in a negative direction for that. But look at this. I mean, this schedule.
That's a miserable. Yeah, it's the NFC East teams are fucked this season. Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably pull out 1 or 2, 2 wins just because it's the NFL. But this is not an easy finish to the year. I mean, they're toast. Everybody talks about how Jerry wants to get back. He wants to win another Super Bowl. It's been 30 years since they've been to a Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
They haven't been to an NFC Championship game in that time. Basically, every other team in the conference has done that. So, they are probably an embarrassment when it comes to how they operate. Look, for all of every coach's shortcomings there. Many of the guys they hire are well respected in the league, and then they leave, and everybody's like, oh, they go get hired elsewhere right away. They get gigs. I don't get it. Between Jerry and Stephen Jones, it's just terribly run. And I just think Jerry, it reminds me of the Cowboys, 30 for 30, the documentary recently. Jimmy Johnson talking about how, Jerry thinks, even back then, thinks he knows more than the guy who's done football his whole life, who's one of his closest friends. What do you think Jerry thinks now at almost 90?
Yeah.
Right.
And he's had every success in life, and he's won a bunch of Super Bowls, right? Like, they haven't done it in a long time, but like, this is not exactly like he's got the track record, he's got the wealth. Like what is left for him to accomplish other than he wants one more before he leaves the earth, kind of thing.
Well, but that's the mindset, right? That's the fallacy of thinking that you're responsible for what Jimmy Johnson and Tom Landry and all players did, right? That you are somehow more of an integral part than Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Charles Haley, right? The list goes on and on. So it is dumbfounding when they make trades like this. It's great fodder for people to talk about, as we are. I mean, that's the obvious loser. You're not a Jets fan, but are the Jets not competent?
I had a great conversation. Some of the folks in the league, yourself included, know my friend Tyler, who's been one of my best friends my whole fucking life, and he's a gigantic Jets fan. And he and I were texting about the Jets trades, and I say this because I believe that Mr. Jacobs is on the line as well, or at least tuned in for us this evening. And I was like, Tyler, like, how amped are you? Like, this is great. And in classic Jet fan form, he said, that implies that the Jets don't fuck up all 15 of the draft picks. And secondarily, that also implies that we don't pull another fucking Sam Darnold.
I mean, look, I hear you. To me, it is at least there is a sense that there's a plan.
Yes.
Whether the plan works, obviously you don't know that right now.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. When you go in and you're going to have multiple first-round picks in multiple drafts in a row, you give yourself the ability, if you love a quarterback, you have more than enough ammunition to go get them. If there are multiple players you like, you can go get them. Yep. So it's really smart business for a team that usually makes terrible business decisions. Clearly, Justin Fields is not the answer there. They know they need to fix the quarterback position kind of almost irrespective of everything else. So I'm shocked that they did this just because it's the Jets. And I agree with you. The idea that Woody Johnson is somehow going to make the right call, I have no confidence in that. You know, his sons will be playing college football 26 or 27 or 28, and they'll pick whatever player they like, right? That's kind of how that goes. But at least on its face, it's interesting to see them essentially operate as a competent organization. I guess it's Aaron Glenn. I don't know. He's bringing some real football knowledge from Detroit.
There's forethought. There's process. There's a plan.
Yeah.
Who knows if Aaron Glenn who knows if Aaron Glenn is the long-term answer either? But like either way, this is the smart thing. We're having a visitor.
Somebody won't go to sleep, huh?
I'm talking to Lowell about fantasy football or about real football now. You want to come say hi?
Yeah. I brought Tickles, Daddy.
This is Tickles. This is Tickles.
Tickles? Oh, wow. Tickles the puppy?
I have 2 puppies that are me.
2 puppies that are you?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
What princess do we have here tonight?
So yeah, and then the last thing that I want to touch on in the trade deadline is, man, if you're the Colts, that's a lot of faith in Danny Dimes coming from somebody who's just lived through the Danny Dimes experience. I don't know how you square it. I don't know if you watched that Seattle Colts game, the Pittsburgh Colts game on Sunday, but allow me to be the 3,000th person to say that was the Danny Dimes that I have seen for 7-8 years, or however many years I had to live under that.
The question is, has it struck midnight? And when does he turn into a pumpkin?
And I gotta tell you, Sunday in Europe with a really good Falcons pass rush is gonna be pretty fun. I'm just saying.
On a turf that these teams are not familiar with. These international games are total, rolls of the dice. Nothing to base it off of. The other component to this is, if in my mind, if they get the 1 seed, or even if they're like the 2 seed and they win one playoff game, he's going to get a 4-year, $60 million extension.
Oh yeah,
they're going to pay him more than Brock Purdy.
They're going to pay him more than the Giants fucking paid him. Excuse me.
Bad daddy.
Whoops. And remember, I literally remember having conversations after the Giants re-signed him after that playoff run, going, they have to pay him that. I don't know what the other option is. Like if you're the Colts, like what is your other? Oh my God, there goes Genty. Go. Oh, it's coming back. Am I way behind?
I don't know. I'm not paying attention. It's off to the side here. But I do think we have a good comment. You mentioned Jacob, so we'll digress for a second.
Yeah.
He did create a perfect drinking game for tonight. Take a drink every time you mention RJ Harvey. You haven't yet, so
I haven't yet because I've been keeping an eye on the Broncos backfield and I've only seen J.K. Dobbins. So I'm trying it very hard to keep it contained until the moment that it pops. But how many times do you play fantasy football literally every week, right? And you put some random guy in your flex because you've got bye week issues or whatever, and you're like, hey, maybe this guy will do something. And he never does. Does it
Sounds
ever
like
happen?
my team.
Never happens that way.
I mean, look, you're playing a touchdown dependent player where his only value is he falls in the end zone. If he does that, it's a positive. If he doesn't, obviously it's playing with one less guy on the field. So
and he does it.
Look,
and the week that I start him, he scores 3 touchdowns, and man, sometimes you get lucky.
Well, you've got the Midas touch to some extent when it comes to those things in fantasy, and that's okay. Nobody's going to fault you with that. We'll see down the line if that holds.
Respectfully, right, for like every RJ Harvey pick, and that's why I find this season to be, and if we want to kind of transition to the actual league,
of course.
What makes this season so interesting to me is while I still agree that Paul, and I want to talk about Paul's team specifically, but you look at Paul and Eric, right? Clearly the 2 strongest teams, and clearly if you look at the fantasy pros, odds and all that kind of stuff, very still clearly the absolute favorites to take home the title. But when you actually peel it back and look at who the rosters are, and maybe this is just me and my perspective, there are a lot of questions. I don't feel like they perform really well, but to me, when I look at it longer term, there have been so many injuries, so many up and down teams so far this season that I actually think this sets up really interestingly for the end of the season. And then when you buttress that with the extent to which people are buying and selling in this league, immediately we get the striation, right? You can see it. It's we pretty much have a playoff picture at this point. And some of the teams have really started to sell, and some of the teams are more or less going for it. But of the teams in the playoffs, I don't see the way your team was last year. It was very, very clear that you were going to win pretty early on, right? It was exceedingly dominant. And I think Paul's team has the ability to be there. I think Eric's team is the ability to be there, but I haven't really seen that level of dominance yet.
I think so. I think Eric's been fortunate. He's been able to rack up a lot of wins. Rashee Rice was suspended. CeeDee Lamb was hurt. Eric, I think, was able to racked up a bunch of wins when he was not at full strength. Now, as he gets to full strength, we will really get to see does it look different? Does it look like he has another gear? I don't know. The way the Cowboys have looked, that's a little tough. I mean, it's easy to go. It's very reductive, right? To just go look at points for, points against. Obviously, that is, we haven't played a full round robin yet, and there's a lot of, randomness in that. And so, sure, Paul's 5-4. He's faced a very difficult schedule in terms of results, but and he has a very strong team. At the same time, you've got to make the right decisions, right? You've got to pick the right guys. You've got to,
but also Paul's team is a perfect example of this because Bijan. One week he's the greatest player I've ever seen play football. The next week I'm wondering how the heck he's even a starting running back.
Yeah.
Right? It's very boomer bust for a lot of guys this season. I think that might be the way I'm feeling. We've seen it even in the group me chat. So many people are talking about such low scoring games. People are the overall points scored aren't quite where they've been.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to that. One, I think running back is way down, right?
Yeah.
It feels like there's very few running backs that are just available. There's very few good running backs, very few consistent running backs. And then because of that, a lot of teams don't have a lot of players at that position or at one or two positions that are really doing anything. Tight end scoring isn't very good, outside of, a couple of guys. It's really pretty mediocre, and usually most teams hover in the high 80s for, optimum points for. It is interesting to kind of look at that a little bit. It is interesting. Manny and Drew, two teams in the bottom half of the league, are barely above 80%. And yet a team in the bottom half, Justin, he's got almost 92% optimum points scored. He's doing a great job, but there's just not enough talent there. So, it's hard because I agree with you, right? Like, you want to just go and anoint Paul or anoint Eric, and I still think those are the two strongest.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to cast aspersions. They're the two clear favorites, but it doesn't feel like they're as big of favorites as we've had like in past seasons when like we've had like one or two teams that really set themselves apart.
And I agree. Now, I did have a conversation this week with an owner, and trying to have some trade discussions about who basically was like, well, I think they feel that they're playing for third place.
Yeah.
I said, well, I mean, okay, but like that's not really like there's not enough monetary value in that strategy, in my opinion, right? You might as well commit to go all in if you feel like you're that close because there's enough randomness. I mean, for Paul, he's got Mahomes on bye this week, but I agree with you. Bijan is very much up and down. Some weeks it looks incredible, some weeks it looks average. JSN has been a great player, obviously making
right. But
trade.
now add Rashid Shaheed, like all of a sudden now, like what happens? And Seattle's schedule gets much harder down the road here. Like there's a lot of
and Goff's got to play a bunch of outdoor games, right?
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of things you have to look at. It's a strong team, but if Paul's defense, if he's going to play the Ravens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be his defense. He doesn't have an elite defense where he could go trade for one, right? And he could really feel a lot better in some senses. And the reluctance to try to trade A.J. Brown early in the year might have gotten him a better return, at some point. It's a strong team, no doubt. But, he's also like one injury away from being in a position where it's like, ooh, that doesn't look as good. I think that's true of most teams, right? And you could look at Eric's team, have a similar conversation, right? Like for Eric, he should probably, in all honesty, go and upgrade at quarterback. Like Hurts is not consistent enough, right?
Yep.
Are you going to bank on he needs to get in the end zone with his legs every week? Are you going to bank on J.K. Dobbins staying healthy? It's the Waddle situation.
And allow me, wait, tell Jacob to support the shot because we can have the J.K. Dobbins conversation. Like, what happens when you've got a rookie running back who starts to look electric in the second half of the season and Sean Payton starts allowing J.K. Dobbins to split time, right? We've seen R.J. Harvey's usage increase every single week in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we're in that part of the season where the rookie running backs start really going. And I'm not saying R.J. Harvey's going to steal the job from him, but like he's no longer the true number one in the offense, right? It's much more of a split backfield now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? I think it's a lot of it comes down to, and we can sit here, right? We can pick apart every roster. Everybody's probably one injury away from having a problem in certain positions, but at the same time, part of fantasy, and when you get down here toward the deadline and you are one or two or three of those really good teams, this is the time to try to figure out, okay, if I feel like I have a potential weakness, let me go get that player, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've held on to Tyler Algier all season. He started maybe once for me, not because I want to use him, but if Bijan gets hurt, that is a league-winning type player, just like
Correct.
Brian Robinson is for the Niners. If you own those players, you should be trying to acquire their backups at this point in the year so to protect yourself.
Yep.
If you don't, that is a strategy decision.
Right.
Whether or not you want it, like you don't need to have 6 startable receivers at this point in the year. You have to start making decisions that are going to build you up for the weeks, 15 to 17.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think, I would look for, or if I would hope for those teams' sake. I mean, frankly, if they don't do it, that's on them.
Well, we've been joking about the collusion year. I mean, the collusion year only happens because I think it was me, had Le'Veon Bell and didn't roster D'Angelo Williams because I was like, I'll be fine. And then he gets injured. And then we had the collusion, right? It was a major error I made that year. And you see that all the time, especially like exactly. Well, Jacob's making
right. But
point,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I agree with you, right? Like, we could get into, look, that scenario that happened years ago, right? And that was, I think, the first instance of Fab, and there was a lot of things that happened there. Paul's arguing with himself in the chat for those who
I can't see the YouTube chat, so I wish for whatever reason, when Jacobs posts something, it pops up on my screen, but I'm not seeing whatever.
Well, that's because I'm putting it up there because he's got the funny comments, right? When you look at when you see everything, you see all the comments. Jacob's got the good quips. Paul, it's like a stream of Paul comments, and then there's a Jacob quip in there. For example, right? So let's see at your take. Paul thinks Algiers, I don't even know if he's trying to spell a player or a country, and Brian Robinson don't turn into the RB1s they back up. I don't know what he's watched, but Brian Robinson trucked the dude last week and looks pretty good. It's not the same ceiling, but it's still. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey is not playing, Brian Robinson is going to be ranked as a top 10 player at the position going into the week, barring
correct, right? And to me, it's also opportunity cost, right? Like if C-Mac gets hurt, what's my next best option at this stage? We've all seen what our waiver wire looks like. It's the reason that I spent a fucking ton of money on Dalton Kincaid this week. It's like, where do you get a top 10 tight end just showing up on the fucking waiver wire, right? Like,
and that's the thing, right? You could trade. I mean, this is not about trying to offer a player to Paul or make. It's just the idea, the concept of you could trade a mid-round pick, right, to get a handcuff that is insurance for you. Do you need to have 3 quarterbacks or 3 defenses or 2 tight ends if you're past bye weeks? At some point, those are the things that you have to decide. And again, it's about what do people want to do, right? So, like I said, I agree with you. I don't think it's a given that it's just a runaway 2-team race here. It looks like it in some respects, but look at Jacobs. This is a good team. He's 6-3. He just lost to Eric in a good matchup. He's got Jonathan Taylor. He's got Josh Allen. Receivers not exactly great. It's definitely been a miss there. And he's playing the tight end and defense, kind of weekly streaming.
But at the same point, right? Like Ted is arrow up. Yeah.
Is he? Yeah. Do you think Ted is arrow up? I don't know that I. I don't know that I buy that. Right? I might buy. Jordan Addison arrow up, right? Brian Thomas is arrow down. Garrett Wilson is steady. I don't know that. I mean, it doesn't seem to have mattered. He's still winning, and he's in an easy division, and he's racking up, points and all of that. But that's a really good team. That again, it's do you want to make that one last move? So, I don't know. It's not my call, but I look at that team and I could look at every team and say, you need this player that's on a crap team. Go make an offer, right? Everybody could do that. I don't think anyone is set or, in a position where they don't need to really do that. I know Paul thinks he doesn't, but we still got a long way to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of season left to play. There's a lot more players who are going to get injured and it's going to be topsy-turvy, but it is funny. You look at I was even thinking about my team and I lost the first 2 weeks in the league in the division, and then have been able to string a couple wins together, and all of a sudden you're right in the thick of the playoff race,
right. And you've got Drake May. Ashton Genty is starting to come on. Obviously Jefferson is a big wild card, right? I
have no idea what to expect from him week to week, but when he scored last week with JJ McCarthy, that's fucking great, right?
Right. And it's kind of the same thing with Ladd, because of all the fact that the Chargers are throwing it around, and they got 4 guys who catch the ball. You don't really know what you're going to get, but you think you do. And so you've got to play them. And sometimes they're going to have really, really nice weeks. I mean, of course, Paul's giving you compliments here. He's buttering you up.
Nobody better than that. Nobody better than that second running back on the bench this evening.
We won't say his name. We want to keep Jacob nice and sober. But
I don't know. Do we though?
I mean, I don't know. He can imbibe if he wants. Look, RJ Harvey's got points tonight. 4 yards. He's not in the game right now. Genty is, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, this is a very good team, just in the sense of it's close enough. Kicker's not exactly a high profile, high priority position. Defense is, I think, we never really see. We do see defensive trades, but not enough or not consistently. It's hard to know if that makes a difference or not. But You picked up Kincaid. You got to feel better there. Pitts hasn't been in all that.
No, he's been serviceable, right? The best part I can say
Right?
is like he's been consistent around like 8 to 10 points every week, which is fine.
But at that position this year, like that's you want to have that 8 to 10 minimum and just sort of set it, forget it, not really have to worry about it. Obviously, you want more, but there just aren't a lot of Brock Bowers walking around. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 tight ends really putting up big points.
Well, and then you factor in and then the other part was I couldn't believe the way I had to bid for him, just simply because with the Tucker Kraft injury, they're just the top line guys are going down, and there really aren't that many guys left around.
Were you surprised? Let's jump back to real football. Were you surprised Green Bay did not make a trade for a tight end for an Njoku?
I'm not actually, because I actually until Tucker Kraft had his explosion season, I might be one of the few people who remembers that Luke Musgrave was actually pretty legit before Tucker Kraft exploded onto the scene. And Luke Musgrave had his injuries and he was up and down and there was all this stuff. And I'm not saying Tucker Kraft is a 1 of 1 or maybe a 1 of 3 in that Brock Bowers, Trey McBride stratosphere, but in the same way that, to Paul's point, Brian Robinson Jr. is not C-Mac. No, I'm not saying Luke Musgrave is Tyler Kraft, but can he do 70 to 80% of Tucker Kraft, and can he do enough that's better than whatever they could have gone and acquired? Because what's the acquisition piece in the trade? Who's the player they're going out to get?
Well, you don't think you could go to Cleveland and say, "Here's a 5th round pick for David Njoku"?
I have no idea. Right, and I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know. That's the name that jumps to mind because you've got a good rookie there, and it's Cleveland, so they might as well pack in, get the assets. Obviously, you can't know what other people are going to bid. You bid $108 for Dalton Kincaid. The next closest bid was a single dollar. So, do you feel that you overpaid just slightly?
No, I don't actually, because again, we talk about opportunity costs, and I'd really been light on the fab spend this season for just such an opportunity. And yes, am I buying him at the height of his value because he had that explosive game against the Chiefs last weekend? Sure. Do I also think that Dalton Kincaid, when healthy, is a top 10 tight end? Absolutely. Is he a clear upgrade on what I had? Absolutely. Right. And so, when I look at the waiver wire, right, I think about if we get to the end of the season or week 15 or whenever we fucking lock the waivers, if I haven't spent all my money, the question is what was the opportunity that I missed out on? And when I look at things like handcuff running backs and all this other stuff in that world, right, what's the opportunity? To a certain extent, Tyrone Tracy, I bid more for Tyrone Tracy last week and obviously got outbid by the grandfather clause, and then Tyrone Tracy does shit for the Giants last weekend, right? But it's that kind of thing, and there aren't that many out there. And that was why when I saw him, I was I'm bidding a number that I know I'm going to win this bid because it's a position that I need to upgrade, and it's an upgrade that I don't have to part with picks next year for. So
I know. I think it's the right move. I don't think if you have a player that you want to get and you feel like you need to get for whatever the reason is, I don't think you can look back and say, "Well, oh my God, I could have only spent $20 and got them." Right? You're especially when you're not trading picks. Go get the guy you want. The Tracy thing. I mean, we had 9 people bid for Tracy. Bids range from $200 to $0. I mean, and almost half the bids were north of 140. I mean, it was very robust competition, and as it should be. Is Tyrone Tracy going to turn out to be a league winner? Probably not. But if you needed a running back or you wanted a depth piece, you had to go all in. You had to offer 100% of what you could, and obviously, somebody had all their money, and that worked out. But it's such an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you look at the way the running backs have all gone down this season, like they do every season, right? And I mean, you all see it. You look at our free agent pool, you look at our waiver wire. I think the one thing that I can say most about our league in however many fucking years we've been doing this now, is that people have gotten a lot smarter about deep stashes on their benches, and it's and so when for instance even me I picked up Monangai 4 weeks ago because I just needed to shift some shit on my bench, and I was kid looks like he might be the real deal. I haven't, and maybe DeAndre Swift gets hurt, and then all of a sudden I get the opportunity last weekend, and it looks like he's the real deal, right? And I think it was the same thing, and of course, because it's all about me. A couple years ago, remember the Cordero Patterson year for the fucking Falcons? That was fucking crazy. He came out of nowhere, right? And so I feel like a lot of people are a lot smarter about putting like random dudes like that on the end of your bench, and then all of a sudden they get the opportunity. Who knows what happens? Look at fucking Rico Dowdle.
Well, Rico Dowdle was a keeper. Look, when I start getting people's keeper decisions, most of the time, you can look at a roster and go, okay, they're going to keep 2 of these 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah.
Looking at that roster, I didn't know if they would keep anyone, and it was very much, I don't know what to make of it. And when I was told Rico Dowdle, I just went, okay, like, sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, it has paid off in spades, but holy crap, I just can't. That is a great one. But if he's that much better than than what they've got on the roster, why did it take half the season before they really started feeding him the ball? I mean, so.
And or put it another way, what the fuck were the Cowboys doing last year? Coming back to our first team.
Well, I mean, let's bring it full circle. Jerry Jones still loves Ezekiel Elliott, right? I'm sure he would sign Zeke off the street if he needed a running back, right? It just,
Yeah, but that's really like to me that's the story of the season, right? And like I think everybody's like well understands it. Like unless like I put myself firmly in the whole like I don't think that I think I'm a contender only insofar as a lot of shit breaks the right way for me over the last few weeks of the season. And so for me, like the idea of trading high picks to like add a piece may not be worth it. I feel like I historically, I think there was one year I remember it. I traded for I think it was Eddie Lacy. I think it was from Wagner.
God.
I traded like a high pick for Eddie Lacy, and I think I won the league that year. But it was like that where it was like I saw, to your point, it was like clear hole in the roster. Like this is a very good team, but I'm one piece away from basically saying like this shit is locked. And like that was the moment I wanted to do it because like frankly like. I look at Paul and I look at Eric and I go, I'm probably second best to whoever you were talking with point, right? Does that mean I can't win the league? Absolutely not. But I'd have to get really fucking lucky in like a semifinal matchup against one of them, assuming that I even make it through the first round of the playoffs. And then it's like getting lucky twice.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because, if you go and you look at like a Fantasy Pros and you go and you analyze the league, right? And we talk about this, you made a comment. You already have playoff teams determined, right?
Yeah.
6 teams in the league have greater than 81% odds to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
You basically have 6 teams probably in, 2 potential spoilers who aren't likely to do it, but Manny and I are still kicking, and then everybody else is just kind of floating around. And obviously, championship percentage odds are significantly different there, and there really are 2 teams very close, at 31 and 30% for Eric and Paul, respectively. Fantasy Pros would peg Paul second in that, and Jacobs at 18%, and then the rest, we're all in the single digits. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a 2-horse race, and you can look at it, but we've seen a lot of times that doesn't just play out that way,
right? And that's why, like personally, my whole thing is like, save the draft picks to fight again next year. I think next year, like because of the reset that we're planning, I think next year is going to be really fun and interesting in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's like, how can I improve my team around the edges? Actually, it's kind of like what the Cowboys should have been doing, right? Is like, or rather what the Patriots did at the deadline, which is like, I like the direction we're heading. Drake May is probably going to be a keeper for me next season because he's a fucking 14th round pick and he's the number 3 quarterback at the moment. Like, if this might be the end of the Justin Jefferson Joe keeper, thing. It's been like his whole fucking career with me, but it's an interesting thing when you look at it and that's why like I really do think like it's fun. Like it would be, or in the NBA even like you got the teams that like go all in on like the Kevin Durant's of the world, thinking that they're going to catch fire again, right? And I think the difference is in something like fantasy, right? All it takes is 1 week for your guy to explode for 3 touchdowns, and that's enough to swing a week. And in the same way, like all of a sudden, like one of Paul or Eric loses 1 or 2 of their stud running backs who want to have injuries, and all of a sudden we're talking a different ballgame here,
Well, completely. I mean, it's easy to sit here. The trade deadline is through next week, so we got about a week and a half here to have those moves finished up and made here. I mean, but I hear you, right? And I agree. All it takes is one big injury to completely shift someone's perception of their team and their needs. But we'll kind of wrap it up here, I guess. we've talked a little bit about the Denver running backs tonight, and RJ Harvey, still hasn't had a big performance yet.
Nothing tonight. And Paul, I just want Paul to know if he's still out there that it's pretty heartbreaking for me that I'm just looking up at the screen and not seeing RJ out there, because we both know that he is the best running back on the Denver Broncos.
Now, are you a little bit concerned at all the fact that the Denver Broncos in a quarter and a half of play are just looking pretty poor
So is this where I mentioned to you that I've got a full 2 units on the Raiders at +9.5 and have another unit on the money line just as a sprinkle? So
there we go.
I have been I obviously don't consider myself a Broncos fan, but living here, I see a lot more Broncos, and I'll have a lot of people who love the Broncos in my life. And I don't want to go as far as to call the Broncos frauds, but like, this is not a 7-2 football team, respectfully.
So here's the difference. Last year, they only won one score game. This year, they've got 5 one-score wins or something like that so far. So that is, the NFL typical. You kind of have these pendulum swings. The other thing is Bo Nix. This is my issue with Bo Nix last year coming out in the draft. He had so many reps in college. I think he was basically already fully baked, which meant there's not a lot of growth, and there has not been growth.
Yeah.
And they don't throw it as well this year for whatever reason. People have had a year to watch film of him and Peyton together.
Well, I also I've watched a lot of Broncos games.
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird thing, and I don't know if it's Bo Nix, and I don't know if it's Sean Payton, and I'm not a smart enough football person to really understand this. But I call it when Bo Nix throws downfield, good things happen. And I watch huge swaths of Broncos games where he's throwing little outs and swing passes, and then all of a sudden it's there's Cortland Sutton 20 yards downfield. Oh, that's a good play. And I don't know if it's Sean Payton calling these little swing passes and screens, or Bo's just afraid to throw it downfield. But when he does, they move the ball. It's crazy.
Yeah. Or you saw at the end of last year was the Marvin Mims deep shots. Now,
yeah.
I just don't – I agree. I don't know what that issue is. I do think to some extent there are concerns about maybe Nix's deep accuracy. I don't know. Maybe they don't think they can block it up. They have blocked it really well this year, but maybe that's a product of quick passes. I don't know. It is interesting to me. I'm not surprised that a second-year quarterback has struggled to progress, right? We generally see that. CJ Stroud really struggled in year 2. Jaden Daniels has obviously had obviously the injury aside, it's just not looked the same. It's very common for year 2. Drake May being an exception. He's really taken a jump. But I do wonder, they got a great defense. They got a lot of good pieces. They are a playoff team, but I don't know that they scare you in the playoffs, right? I don't know that you're scared of the Broncos.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the defense is really good, but the fucking Giants put up 33 points on them, and they've gotten scored on a couple times. And then you watch last weekend, I had a lot of money on the Texans, RIP CJ Stroud on Sunday, but the Texans should have won that game handily. And but for the CJ Stroud, that was not a close game. CJ Stroud gets hurt, they stop moving the ball. But the Broncos couldn't move the ball on offense. Houston's defense was falling.
Look, if you need Davis Mills to come in and have to play 2.5 quarters of football, you should win the game. But that should not be what you need to win.
Right.
Yeah.
And Houston barely a playoff team, right? And honestly, bring the bring the Broncos schedule. Look at this. One of the reasons I love the Raiders tonight is actually look at the Broncos schedule and the results this season.
Wow, we'll get it up here. Okay.
I've been on my high horse, pun intended, about this, right? So they barely beat Tennessee at home in Cam Ward's first game, right? They lose the leverage play in Indy. They lose on a Justin Herbert hero game in LA. Then whoop-de-woo, they beat the shit out of Jake Browning. Legitimately, I'll give you credit for beating the Eagles in Philly. Yeah. But then you barely beat the Jets in London.
That game was
need a miraculous comeback against the Giants. Whoop-de-woo, you beat up on the Cowboys and you barely beat the Texans. What have they done?
Well, again, it's 5-2 in one-score games. And the 2 blowouts were against the 2 maybe worst defenses in the league.
Correct.
Right? So, of course, the offense is going to put up 72 combined points against those 2 teams. But every other game, the entire rest of the schedule has been nail-biters, and they've been fortunate to get the ball to bounce their way, the Texans were up, easily going to win. I agree with you, cruise to a win. The Broncos really struggled with the Jets in London, and I know it's international game, so okay. They did have a nice comeback late there against the Eagles in Philly. They do deserve credit, but that is now a month ago.
Yeah,
and they are starting to trend in sort of the wrong direction. Of course, we'll see what happens, but look.
And also tonight, and like look at who they play next week. That was the other thing. Like this game just screamed trap game.
Yep. Well, also Chiefs are coming off bye, right?
Yeah.
Next week, Chiefs are coming off bye. Denver, I mean, it's very possible they're 7-4 in the bye. Obviously, at Washington, who knows? At the Raiders, okay, maybe you should win that, but frankly, the way tonight looks, no confidence.
Yeah.
Green Bay, that's a really good team. That's a tough one. Against Jacksonville, okay, you should win that. At Chiefs, in a game you probably need to win to stay in the playoff.
But that's going to be a huge divisional game at that point, right? You figure both teams are probably going to have similar records at that point.
The Chiefs are not in the playoff picture as of today. So the Chiefs are going to need that win week 17.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers are going to want that win in week 18 because they're going to be fighting for division championship and playoff seeding.
Yep.
This is the problem of it's the same issue every year. There are teams that benefit from easy schedules one year, get a hard schedule the next, and regress, or at least they look like they do because the schedule is much harder.
Yep.
Denver in the AFC, Washington in the NFC, very clearly going through that process.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you're not a good team, but I agree they are struggling. You think just in your mind you go Broncos Raiders shouldn't be close, and it isn't. Not the way you thought. So
right.
And
I also think part of this is also like the Brock Bowers effect. Like the Raiders were abjectly horrible, and like I'm still not sure if the Jags are good or not. Like I'm really not sure. I don't think that they're good, but like they do enough things where I'm like, if I squint really hard, they like the defense is kind of frisky, and like every once in a while, like on offense, like I really like ATN, like he's looking good, but like, but I wouldn't go as far as to call them a good team, but like I watched a lot of that Raiders Jags game on Sunday, like because there were only 3 games on Sunday. We did the multi-view on YouTube or whatever, right? And my biggest takeaway is how different the Raiders look when Geno can just basically chuck it to Brock Bowers on every play, right? And that's a huge piece of this. And it's something that like Broncos in a trap spot. Like I'm not saying that, and again, this is not saying the Raiders are good. This is just like if there was one moment for the Broncos in a short week to basically be like, let's just get past the fucking basement-dwelling Raiders and move on. 100%. And how many times do you see this, especially in fucking divisional games, right? Like,
again, it's divisional opponent, so there's more on the line. They know you better. You're coming off a tough road win, right?
Yeah.
Road, Sunday afternoon, traveling home, short week.
Yep.
And you're looking ahead for the Chiefs, right? So there's a lot of factors that obviously would weigh against them. Look, it is what it is. You have to come and you got to find ways to play. You're at home. You should have an advantage from that. It's just clearly not showing up. The Raiders have looked better. I don't know if it's a Bowers thing. I do think it's Genty has started to look better. You have a completely new staff. It has taken some time. Geno was not good. He has been slowly getting better. So if there are things that are kind of coming together, and they're a frisky team. You mentioned the Jags. They are the epitome of a team that will jump up and beat you when you don't take them seriously. Almost beat the Chiefs.
They did beat the Chiefs on the fall down. Oh, when Trevor Lawrence fucking fell down, that was like one of the greatest games of the season.
Exactly. If you let them hang around, they are frisky enough. The defense is just opportunistic enough. Trevor Lawrence can make just enough plays some days to win a game. I mean, it's not a great team. They don't inspire confidence, but they are not easy outs. The Raiders are not easy outs. It's the NFL.
Yeah.
Other than the Bengals, the Jets, the Browns, there are not a lot of easy outs.
Yeah.
Right?
And the Titans. Don't forget the Titans, and don't forget the Shuck U2s down in New Orleans. They're
everybody's trying to, the Chris Olave, is a real winner of the fantasy world after the trade of Shaheed. I go, who's throwing him the ball? I mean, what are we doing?
Tyler Shuck is.
I mean, just put Taysom Hill out there. Let him run around 40 times a game. I don't care. Look, it's been a pleasure. As always, I'll let you sweat this out. I mean, at least for you, you won't be up till God knows when.
I think I texted the group chat last week when I was in New York. And, like, it was late and the second half was going. And I was like, how the fuck do you guys do this on the East Coast? Because, like, I love it. Like, this game ends at, like, 9:15 for me. I get a decent night's sleep.
No, of course. I agree with you. I think mountain time is the best time for sports because nothing starts too early and it doesn't end too late.
Yeah.
You're done by.
Although I got Georgetown, Maryland at 4:30 tomorrow. Hey, by the way, happy basketball season. Want to know? Let's go. I'll leave you with that. But
yeah,
hey.
we'll leave it. Like and subscribe. We appreciate the comments. Paul chatting with himself every week just makes my night. I got to enjoy it. We'll see if the Hoyas can beat the Terps in College Park. Big game tomorrow night.
It's gonna be fun.
Hey, year
I'm
3 of
excited.
Ed. Year 3 of Ed. He's got to put it together.
Yep. Awesome, man. This was awesome. Good luck to everybody.